celebrating her birthday. She and I both turned 50 this month. So she was out of the country celebrating her birthday. I'm getting ready to leave the country to celebrate my birthday. And so we're going to pick it up and just do everything once I get back. So I'm kind of staying away from it for now.
Yeah, I saw that you had your 50th birthday. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's an awesome milestone. Welcome, folks, to the MCU'S YouTube channel and podcast. It is, Wednesday, 5/28/2025. As you already heard, we are here to dive into The Last of Us Season 2 finale. With me tonight, as always, I deem myself, tonight. I am, of course, the co-host of the MCU'S Bleeding Edge, Jeff S., a.k.a. True Knowledge. I have with me my co-host, Cybernetic Shark, veteran content creator, big, massive fan of The Last of Us Season 2, and Ellie as the character. And, we got Andre's just dipped real quick, but he's back to wrap up the rest of the season. And we got Danny from Seen It Before podcast back with us again. And I may butcher your name a couple times tonight. Just because it's a very unique name. Hanako, you pronounce, I'm working on my pronunciation from Fandom Hybrid podcast. Welcome to the show, guys. We really appreciate having you on tonight. Want to hear your opinions on The Last of Us Season 2. And I have opening questions, and that's kind of what I already broached in the studio a minute ago. This is something that you guys have watched. You've covered, the first season of this show, 2+ years ago. This is the finale that we're talking about tonight of The Last of Us, right? And, since this is the final episode of Season 2, I'm very interested in hearing the newcomers' opinion kind of on, how Season 2 has gone for you, as a fan. Whether or not you played the games at all. I can't remember if you played the games or not.
I didn't play the game. I watched it as a movie.
There you go. And then basically, what are your thoughts on the contrast between Season 1 and Season 2? I mean, do you agree with me that, there's been a bit of a drop off, in terms of the quality of the show kind of, or the pace of the show maybe too, with Season 2? If you do agree, what do you think the problem? What do you think the issues are? I'd be really interested in hearing that. Maybe you don't agree with me. I don't know. So I guess I'll go ladies first. Hanako, please go ahead.
Okay, so I think I come to this with the perspective of having not played the games. I've not seen the gameplay, so I'm strictly a show fan, even though I'm aware and have knowledge of some of the things that happen in the game. So in that respect, I think I may be a little bit more forgiving to what other people consider lags or kind of slowing in the story for this season. I actually did enjoy it, but it was different from the first season. I kind of feel like Season 1 was like that very fast, quick, you see something, you fall in love at first sight, and then second season was kind of like, okay, so that initial excitement has kind of died off, and you're just kind of slowly riding into things and just kind of, letting things kind of mellow out. So that's kind of how I feel about Season 2. I did still enjoy it. Kind of like what Danny was saying before we went live. I was not expecting Joel's death to come so early in the season. And so I think that shocked me, but I kind of like what they've done with the season as far as going back with the flashbacks from episodes, episode 5 or episode 6. And, just kind of telling the story in that way. So I found it very interesting.
Okay, most definitely. Appreciate you. Good points. I'm just a pop culture guy. I see you're back, sir. That's good to see. Hopefully we won't have too many Wi-Fi issues tonight, and we'll have you for the whole episode recap. Danny, what are your thoughts, sir?
Well, on the season as a whole, I actually just recently, I guess, rewatched the 8-hour or so movie that is the game. And yeah, we're only a third of the way through. And knowing what happens next in the game, I'm really concerned about the next season because it'll maybe just be entirely about Abby, not really even have Ellie in it. The season in general, like I said in like the first episode, I'm like, I was really I was on board. I'm like, this is kind of showing us some new stuff. This new character named Gail with this mystery behind Eugene and everything. And then they're like they tease, and obviously the second episode's the big one where Joel dies and there's a giant attack. But after that,
Wasn't that episode 3 when Joel died?
no, it's two because they did
Is it 2?
the big giant zombie horde thing.
Oh, yeah, okay. You're right.
But then like after that, Ellie's like, you know, she's too happy, you know. It's just and it's not even like, oh, she in the game she's like on a revenge mission and she's so much darker. No, in the show she should just be grieving for Joel, and then now she's excited to be a dad and she's excited to have a kid, and she's like, what she says, like natural gas, baby. Like she's not supposed to be all giddy like that. Like your dad just died like yesterday and got beaten to death in front of you. And then especially in this last episode, there's a lot of just issues where like back and forth motivations, like especially at the moment where they're like about to go save Jesse and Ellie are about to go look for Tommy. Jesse's like, Ellie, you're just kind of like a narcissist and you only care about like things that, you know, just for you. And she's like, yeah, Abby's right there. I'm going to go get her. Just forget about Tommy, my other quasi father figure. Whatever. I'm just like, there's just a lot of stuff in this episode that I'm just like, what are we doing here? But it started off so strong and then it just meandered, and now it kind of annoyed me at the end. So I'm like, it's unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, I really figured that they would really try to go all out and really bring it, you know, for the finale. You know what I'm saying? You know, because I mean, obviously they must have been aware, you know, when they killed off Joel, that it was going to affect the, you know, the show the way, you know, to some extent. Andre Seibert, this is the last time you guys ever get a chance to talk about the show. So I don't know how you feel about that, but like this is your last shot. You know, we're not going to be bringing this up again on anything else in the future, you know, until we get to season 3. So, you know, what are your kind of like final thoughts on, you know, overall about season 2, you know, and what you think about episode 7? I mean, you know, where you at with The Last of Us? I know you agree, right? That season 1 was better than season 2.
Yes. Yeah. No. I'm pretty much on board with everyone here. I just think the pacing was way off this season for obvious reasons. I think it was always going to be a struggle for them to, you know, live up the expectations after Joel did die, you know, which of course, we were all shocked they did it in episode 2. And I don't know. I like this season. I mean, at least one thing this season did do right compared to other ones is at least we had at least 2 standout episodes. Like at least we got that. Like we did not have like a boring episode. We like at least had one episode that like had like a thrilling like horror sequence. Like I'm thinking about episode 5 with the train, you know, Attack of the Infected and the clickers. You know, that was a really good, you know, like standalone horror sequence, you know. And I thought that was a good way for, you know, that episode that was kind of filler, as I think Danny and a couple of you had just brought up before. And, you know, I thought they had good cold openings. The cold openers were great this season. I thought the cold opening scene, the introduction of Jeffrey White was great. And then episode 5 was the opener where we discovered that the spores are not going to be toxic, which was really cool. And, you know, bringing, you know, a theme from the game that, you know, was there, but was not in the live action first season. So it was good that they did that in the cold opener. That was great. And yeah, episode 2 and 6, I think, is the highlight of this episode. It really shows how good the show is when it hit the mark, you know, like episode 2 6 was so emotional. Yeah, obviously had Pedro Pascal there, but I think everything was just hitting right, you know, to my heart. And, you know, as a viewer, I thought it was a great entertainment TV that was pretty good. But same time, there's just a couple things I'm like, okay, like I don't know why 7 episodes? You could easily done the 9 episodes just like the first episode. You could easily done 2
The
episodes.
first season, sir.
Yeah, I'm saying why
I
didn't-
understand. Why didn't
Yeah.
they do the 9 episodes? I get you.
Because if you had 8 and 9 could easily be the Abby focus, and so that it'll be easier for them entering season 3 is like, okay, I'm used to that whole Abby perspective, which is something is from the game, you know. I don't know. I feel like it was a detriment on the creators to not going full on 9 episodes or even 8 episodes. I think you can easily do 8 episodes. That's fine. I just don't think the 7th episode really helped them because it just messed up quite a bit the pacing and the storyline. Because I kind of agree with Danny. I get this as an adaptation of the game, and I feel like the revenge plot, like the revenge journey, just isn't engaging as like the game was. Obviously there's different reasons why that version of Ellie is much darker. I mean, let's be honest. Part 2 of the game is much darker than the first game. It's that typical, like sequel. Of course, Batman Begins. Then when you go into Dark Knight is even more darker than Batman Begins, or Empire Strikes Back. Even more serious than the first Star Wars movie. So I get that, and I just. I kind of agree. It's just weird to see this version of Ellie, kind of joking. It does kind of deflate the dramatic, revenge against Abby, sometimes. And I appreciate this episode, she, is thinking about her consequences, what she's doing, killing Abby's friends, as we'll go through the episode. But yeah, I just think we hopefully we get that better handle next season. We'll see. But at the moment it's a little shaky, and but I really enjoyed the new characters. I thought the new characters were the standout. And I thought I guess I'm the minority here. I do like Bailey Ramsey as Ellie, but I don't like I of course I prefer the game version of Ellie, but I think she did a really good job this season, and she did hold her own, at least, with the episodes she was with. At least she had another person that I like. I thought Isabel, I forgot her last name. Mercedes, thank you. Was really fantastic. Great actress. I'm very excited to see her in Superman and obviously Peacemaker season 2. She's a great actress. I think it was good that she had like another partner there. So yeah, I would say, yeah, it's not as good as season 1 of The Last of Us. You can never beat the first sophomore season. That's impossible. It's always going to be a tough task. And at least this season, unlike other shows like freaking Dead City.
That's not true. So The Walking Dead got better after its first season.
I like
sophomore season though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't want to get into the original Walking Dead, but let me just compare it to Dead City because I hate Dead City. But compared to Dead City season 2 is really awful, and I'm gonna miss this show. I'm crying in my this morning. I'm like, oh fuck, pardon my French, fuck me. I gotta lose this show, and now I'm gonna just watch Andor and then Dead City. Now moving forward, I'm like, oh my god, just so bad. So that's my thoughts on season 2. Very excited about this episode. And just wrapping up, I think this is the weakest finale. I agree with Danny. First half was strong, and I understand you doing a cliffhanger, but I hate that they did it. It was so frustrating. And the same thing like first season finale. I like the first season, but like that finale was also weak, and I just don't understand it. It's just. I don't know. It was frustrating for me when I saw it today. So that's my thoughts overall. So I'm very excited to talk about it with you guys the whole episode.
Okay, Cyber, sir, what are your thoughts on season 2 and season 1 and whatever else you want to talk about having to do with your overall thoughts on episode 7, the finale too?
So we all know how I feel about season 1. Yeah. Season 2, blah. But I do think that season 2 is better. And I'll tell you why. I felt this season had a couple episodes that were far superior than season 1. Not only was the death of Joel crazy as hell, still I think that was pretty daring to do it in the second episode. So I have to give this season credit for that. Even though they should have pushed it down a few episodes, like everyone else has mentioned, I most definitely think, because this season was a lot of filler. And at the same time, how they do the cliffhanger endings, for me, it seems like what they're doing is that they have a set long story, and they try to splice it at where they think that the next season will start. And that's kind of my thought process of how season 2 and 3 are really separated, because they were like thinking, oh, okay, we're only doing 7 episodes. Technically, we wanted to do more like 14 episodes. So we'll split it into 2 and make it 2 seasons. So I think that's kind of their thought process when it came to how many episodes they chose for these seasons. But overall, this season, I thought, like I said, was better than season 1. Simple fact that they had that badass first episode that was action-packed with the killing of the zombies and all that good stuff. We found out about the spores, which was really awesome. And then this final episode, I think, was a better ending than the last season. Plus, also, Ellie got told some shit, which was great. I was so happy people were like saying, shut the fuck up, Ellie, in this episode. I was so ecstatic. So I was really happy about that. And then I love the fact that we got some really good knowledge too about certain situation here that was previous episode, which was really great. But the fact that this episode kind of ends on that kind of cliffhanger, once again, going back to day 1 in Seattle, that was hilarious, because I'm like, are you kidding me? Why the hell are we going? Why are we doing flashbacks again? So I don't know what went on in their minds when they decided to do these episodes and these seasons, but I felt they got a little confused as they were trying to make these up. But overall, this season, but it had some okay episodes. Like I said, just like with the first season, this had a few episodes that were really good. The rest of them were just kind of like, why are they there for me? So overall, a little better than season 1 and okay.
Okay. That's about what I would expect from you, Cyber. Like I said, I know that, you haven't been a massive fan of Last of Us Season 2. But, okay, so let's get into the actual episode itself. I'm working off of the Wikipedia blurb, and it's pretty short. Although, in comparison with the finale, being a longer episode for the show, they do have quite a bit here. I'll try to, buffer it as best I can. But it starts off with episode 7, which is titled Convergence, and is directed by Nina Lopez Horaido, and written by Druckmann, Haley Gross, and Craig Mazin. Ellie regroups with Dina and Jesse, shaken by her own brutality against Nora. She reveals to Dina what Joel did at the hospital, prompting Dina to suggest they return home. Ellie and Jesse intercept a WLF radio call about a sniper who Jesse believes is Tommy. He pursues the source of the gunshots, while Ellie commandeers a motorboat to travel to a nearby aquarium where she believes Abby to be located, based on the information from Nora. So I'll stop there. I really didn't understand that. Like, I got thrown off by the whole Abby on the boat deal during the episode. That kind of threw me off. I was like, why is she doing that? You know what I mean? Like, it kind of made no sense to me. And then obviously, as we know, it doesn't go very well for her, although the way it goes is kind of stupid, and silly. But again, I don't want to talk too much about it. I'll let you guys talk about it. So I'll go to you first, Danny. That stretch of the episode, that intro, and then, going in for that first third of the episode where we get the boat ocean, bay deal or whatever over there in Seattle, and then she bumps into the whatever they're called, that one old fashioned group there that does all the whistling. The Seraphites. Yes, thank you very much. I appreciate that. What do you think, Danny?
Yeah, I mean, See, this is when like I'm thinking like, oh, this is an HBO show, and specifically with like the way that they're writing the dialogue for what's it, Dina and Jesse, where they're like, it's very, very clear. Oh, she's pregnant. I can't die. And she's like, and Jesse's like, you need to drink this alcohol. It'll make you feel better, to get this arrow out of you. She's like, no, I don't want to. And then I'm just thinking, oh, and then Jesse's like, oh, I can't die now. And, because, if I get killed because of your actions, Ellie, you suck. And I'm just like, oh, you're going to die, dude, in this episode. And like, I knew that was going to happen in the game. Or it happened in the game. But yeah, I just thought that there was a lot of telegraphing going on. It wasn't really smart dialogue happening. And like I said before, like Ellie's motivations and debate are just don't make sense to me. So you have like the one scene where Jesse and Ellie are hiding, and they run into the wolves taking over, or taking that Seraphite kid. Ellie's dumb and just charges right out there, and then Jesse's like, "What the hell are you doing? We're in a war zone. This is not our war." And then she brings up the whole thing about community. So she's willing to save a random person that she's never met and go up against impossible odds. Then later, Jesse and her are talking again about this kind of community thing. And we get, I guess, a little bit of a monologue, which I liked, her being like, my community got beaten in front of me and died. I'm like, okay, so we understand where Ellie's at for some reason now. How she gets there, we don't know. But then she's willing to just let Tommy potentially die and like leave Jesse to just go find him alone after we just saw her care so much about this random kid. It just doesn't make any sense to me on a character basis. And there was no work done there to show that shift. Cause she's like, I'm ready to go home. And then all of a sudden she's like, oh, Abby's right there. Maybe. After she tortures, the other girl, I forgot her name, but breaks her legs with a pipe. And then they got whale and wheel out of her, and they go to the aquarium. And well, I'll get to that part later, but specifically with the Seraphite scene, I guess they wanted to add that into the game, but they just couldn't. And I think the point of it was to just double down and be like, Ellie is so hell-bent on getting to Abby. She doesn't even care about this war. But talk about plot armor. Like,
I think they just wanted the Seraphites in the episode. They just interjected them in there and threw them in there.
Yeah, like I just didn't understand why they're. It's such like, it was like if anybody's seen How I Met Your Mother, like it's like they had to, because they had this footage that they filmed years ago. They just had to include it at the end and kind of mess up the end of that. And that's another show, but it's like they had this idea for this Seraphite thing where Ellie almost dies, but so we can finally do it now, but it just doesn't make any sense. And then for her to get out of there alive, unscathed, for literally no reason, like they just hear a noise, like a horn blows. They're like just about to gut her, and like they're like, just leave her. I'm like, it's like real quick, like, to do that, if you're the Seraphites, like you have her like ready to go, right? And then no, we can't. So they just drop the knife and let her go. And like, if I'm a Seraphite and like we need to kill all the trespassers, like perfect opportunity right there, gut, and then go. Like it takes 5 seconds. So that didn't make any sense to me either, and it just felt like such a detour for no reason. And I get they were going for just to double down, like Ellie's so hell-bent on revenge, and there's just a lot of coincidences there. And it's just like I said, it's an HBO show. I expect more quality from this. Maybe if it was like a Walking Dead show, I'd be like, okay, whatever. But this is like The Last of Us, one of the best prestige games like ever written, right? And then they do this HBO, one of them known to be in the prestige television show. They should be smarter with this storyline and dialogue. And they've already proved that they could in the last episode. So it's like, I don't know what's going on here now.
Yeah, it's very inconsistent, and honestly, in my experience from when I've watched HBO throughout my life, my young life, and then as my adult life, when their shows go bad after a certain point in some season, they go bad and that's it. They don't redeem themselves or come back. You know, like and the quality comes back or anything like that. And I'm using like True Blood or something like that for as an example. Like when True Blood went bad and went south, it just went down a fucking hole. You know what I mean? Like, it tanked. And it was good too for a while.
Yeah, but so I can understand if a regular show kind of tanks because there's no they don't really have a direction, and that happens a lot with shows. But this one literally is adapted pretty much 1-to-1 to the original source material, and they still messed it up, which is just crazy to me. And you had years to plan ahead for this. And Dina feels more like Ellie than Ellie does. Like she's the one Dina's convincing Ellie to stay on this revenge mission. I'm like, why does she it doesn't it doesn't make any sense.
No, I'm with you, Danny. It doesn't make any sense. The WLF are really a lot more dangerous and a lot more numerous, in terms of fighting them. It's just kind of stupid. All right. So I guess Cyber, I think, dropped for a minute. So I'll go back to you, Andres. What do you think on that section of the episode, sir? 60-minute man.
Yeah. All right. Let me do 60 minutes right now. All right. The opening.
Please don't.
You had to pay me, sir, to do that. But anyway, I'm not gonna go 60 minutes. I thought the beginning was fine. It was pretty good. I do agree. I saw the behind the scenes of the show. See what was going on with the whole motivation, because I was in the same boat as you, Dan. I was like, what is going on here? And they were trying to apparently they were trying to parallel the situation, what's going on with not Abby. So Ellie, how Jesse doesn't understand. I say Jesse is this Boy Scout, and he doesn't he doesn't understand what's going on about what Ellie's trying to do personally. That this person that I care about, was killed, and I had to do something. And I kind of get that, and and I get you're showing how dark this world is. You cannot save anyone because they have their own agenda and survival instinct that we've seen previously before, in these typical apocalypse shows, and that's why we saw the kid with the sci-fi kid being captured by the wolves, and then so I get that, but then the part where she's scrolling with Jesse about about the community was killed in front of me, that makes sense. But then Jesse, I don't know, I mean, of course Jesse's not close to Joe, that's the main thing that we don't really discuss. So I can understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to show some parallels to Ellie is Ellie is trying to be the better person. Let me say that, because last episode we got the reveal where Joe, that fantastic episode 6, where his dad, Joe's dad, was trying his best to be a better dad, but he had to do something that of course is maybe unethical, hitting your kid to discipline, right? And then Joe, we didn't know how Joe treated his daughter Sarah, but we saw a little bit that with Ellie and how he's trying to be a better dad to Ellie, and I get that. So in this episode, I kind of get what they're trying to do. They're trying to show how Ellie, is trying her best to be a better person in Joel's eyes, despite he is already passed. She's trying to be a better person, where versus the game, she was very driven, like Batman level of okay, I want my revenge, Khan level of Star Trek 2 Rafika. I'm revenge, and and such a dark and even mean spirited way for her. I mean, when I get into it, the shocking death that I knew that it was going to happen, because I saw that part. It was handled differently than the game, and it makes sense because this Ellie is not this driven, revenge person, less, because, this story we got here is that, yes, she is driven she wants revenge, but she doesn't, she doesn't, like, she wants it in a way where I'm, I want it and like rest it right away, like it's more like I wanted to kill her and then that's it and leave, like nothing like too personal, like that's what Ellie's trying to do. She wants to get it over with, and so that's the difference between this version over the game. So that makes sense. The whole island thing, I mean, I so clunky because I mean, if people don't know this, like that island is going to be important later on in the story. So I get they were trying to set it up, but like for me, it's like it was so distracting, and like I mean, if they had it like another episode where there was like a battle, between these two groups, then I'm like, okay, this makes sense. We're going to Zion, but this whole season we didn't build up. I mean, we did build up the attention of these two groups versus, but like you don't need this this island attack at all. You save that for next season and like okay, and make that like a two-parter battle, like almost like the the Whisper arc from Walking Dead, or or the Game of Thrones. I don't know, the battle or something like. You could have made this like an event, and so I don't understand why we need to. Like, I get they're trying to set up this island because it's going to be an important location and story in the later season, but I don't think we needed this in this episode, and it just distracted too much. And and I get we need to see the the oh my god, I'm the cannibal group or whatever you want to call it.
The Seraphites, sir.
The Seraphites. I'm losing. There's too many groups I had to pick now. This and then Dead City. But anyway, the Seraphites, like you're showing, like, oh, the Seraphites is no different from the wolves. I get that. They're trying to survive, and look, they're a religious group. What are you gonna expect? They're not gonna like act noble as like. Well, I mean, the wolves are crazy people too, but like, these are more crazy people. So I understand why Ellie was so shocked about that. But yeah, so I thought the beginning was okay. The middle part was so shaky because I agree with Danny. Like this is HBO show. Like they did so good for last week's episode. It was so tight, and this was so like sloggy. The pacing was like off, and I do agree with Jeff. It was so weird how Ellie got to the boat and then to the island and then now to the aquarium. So I thought it was really shaky. So it was okay. It wasn't a spectacular. I thought the beginning was okay, and then this middle part was like a little rough for me.
Okay. Let's see if I'm able to pronounce it again correctly for a second round. Hanako? Hanako. Why am I having such a hard time with that? I feel like a total retard.
To it.
All right. Anyways, I'm sorry.
Fine. It's Japanese, so.
All right. Well, that makes sense. That's actually very interesting. It's a very unique name. So what do you think? What are your thoughts on that same parcel of the episode, if you don't mind?
Okay. So I will say this. I will start off with this part. As far as Ellie goes and her behavior and her kind of single focus about finding Abby over everything, I think one of the things that people forget, and I'm talking about the show only because, again, I have no real knowledge of the video game. This is a girl who has been raised since birth as a thing. You get what I'm saying? She's never had parent figures. She's never had anyone to care about her. She had Marlene, but Marlene was kind of keeping her at arm's length because of the potential of what Ellie could be. If this is a girl who could possibly be a cure, there's always a chance that she's not going to survive whatever it is that they have to do in order to get that cure. So you keep her at arm's length. You don't show her love. You don't show her any kind of maternal instinct, anything like that. You raise her as a Fedra child soldier, as Fedra does. And so this girl has grown up her whole life only being told that she could possibly save humankind, and that, you know, she's this cure, she's this thing. She's not raised like a normal person. And you know, I was listening to your episode from the last episode about the birthdays, you know, just talking about how kind of childish it was to like take her to the Space Museum and stuff. And I was like, but she's never really had a childhood. She's never had anybody to give her that kind of care. And even with Joel, that relationship started out, you know, you're cargo, you don't mean anything to me. My job is just to get you across the country, and that's it. And then of course we know that somewhere in that it shifts, it changes to the point where when she's in Salt Lake City, she's on the table, they're about to operate on her, and they tell Joel that, yeah, well, we kind of got to kill her in order to get this cure. Joel is like, oh no, what we ain't gonna do is this. And he goes and he kills all of those people in the hospital. And I think the realization for Ellie, even though she was pissed off at him for quote unquote taking that away from her, the realization that someone loved her enough to do that for her, I think that kind of changed something in her. And then when he was so brutally taken away from her, not 24 hours later after this confession, yeah, she's pissed because this is the only person who's ever cared about her. Going back to the community conversation, Joel was her community. He was the only person probably in her life who told her he loved her. He's the only person who sacrificed everybody else, basically said, you know what, the world can burn as long as you're safe. So for her to have this singular focus in trying to find Abby, who was so cold and so callous, in killing him in front of her, I understand it completely. And I don't think it was a fact of she's putting anybody else's needs before her in that sense. Like, I think when it comes to Tommy, she knows Tommy can handle herself. If you think about the conversations we've heard about Tommy and Joel in the first season, Joel said, oh yeah, my brother and I, yeah, we did some horrible things. She knows Tommy can handle himself. I mean, think about it. Tommy is out there by himself and he's sniping the wolves who have this whole army, who have this militia training, but he's got them pinned down. She's not worried about him. She's not. She's worried about this girl getting away. And I think for her, even though, yes, it gets to a point where I think she starts to question what she's doing and whether or not she should go on. I think also for her, the fact that she already went as far as she did with Nora, that she kind of lost herself in that confrontation with Nora and then just kind of left her. If she has allowed herself to do that and then just lets go, I think she would feel like she's doing a disservice to Joel, the person who risked everything, including her, in order to save her. So I don't have a problem with the way that she's behaving in this episode. I think it kind of fits with someone who literally has lost her whole world. This is the only person who has ever cared for her. This is the only person who was ever a parental figure to her. The only person who ever gave her a choice between being just a regular person and being this person who had the world on her shoulders and who had this huge expectation placed upon her from a very early age. So I understand it. If she wants to, you know, if she wants to go half-cocked after Abby, great. But we see that in the middle of, well, we'll get to that part in the episode, but I think her shift is also well explained if you look at the conversation she had with Joel on the porch. And I think that's one of the reasons why they gave it to us so late in the season, because from episode 2 up until episode 5, you just have her single focused. I'm going to go after this girl. I'm going to kill her. That's her only mission. And for her and Joel to have the conversation where Joel basically tells her the same thing his father told him, I hope when your time comes around that you do better than me. This is something that she's remembering as she's finding out that Dina is pregnant, as she's finding out that, oh, okay, you know what? I really can lose myself if I get around one of these people who kept me from getting to him. So I think her mindset is changing because she's trying to break that cycle of violence, those generational curses. Joel's father, he was trying to break what his father did to him. And then Joel was trying to break what his father did. And so now I think she's trying to say, okay, you know what? Maybe I can do better. Maybe I don't have to kill all of them. Maybe I can just kill her. She's the one who actually drove the poker into his neck. That's the one I want. I don't have to do these others. But of course, circumstances happen, and we see what happens with her on that end. As far as the scene with the Seraphites with Ellie, I kind of feel like when Ellie is on the way to Seattle, she already has an image of the wolves in her mind. She has them as cold, calculating. They came in, like Seth said, they came into their house, they killed one of their own. And so she already has a prejudice against them. Coming across the dead Seraphites on the way to Seattle doesn't do anything to weaken that mindset, because you look at the Seraphites, they're all face down for the most part. Most of them have been shot in the back, and we know if you shoot somebody in the back, you're a coward. If you can't, if that's how you're going to take them out, and you can't do it face to face, you have to do it while they're running, you're a coward. So that kind of adds to her thought process when it comes to thinking about the wolves. She sees the Seraphites in the abandoned television station. Not the Seraphites. She sees the wolves in the abandoned television station, and she sees what the Seraphites have done to them. And in her mind, she's still not thinking, okay, these people are crazy. She's thinking, oh, the wolves pushed them to do this. Everything in her mind that she's seeing is telling her that the wolves are the bad people. When she and Dina are in downtown Seattle and they see the group of bodies laid out, women, men, and children up under that, the mural that says, what was it? Let her live, and the wolves
feel
had
her
put,
love, and then she's like, "Feel this, bitch!" Like,
that. So, feel her love. That's what it was. So, in Ellie's mind, everything is about the wolves. The wolves are bad. The wolves are bad. The wolves are bad. The Seraphites are just trying to live their life. So then, when this kid runs into the garage and he's chased by the wolves, that's the only thing she's thinking. She's thinking, okay, these wolves are bullies. I know that they're bullies. I've seen what they do firsthand. This is just a kid. This kid is on his knees. He's begging, even though she can't hear what he's saying. She thinks he's begging for his life. And then also, there's a parallel there because that is a child that no one else is trying to save. She knows what that feels like. So her instinct is, oh, I'm going to go save him. But Jesse is like, no, we have other people to think about, and I need you to focus on that, which in that instance, he's right. But again, Ellie is not thinking that way because she doesn't see the Seraphites as bad people yet. Now, when she gets on that island and she starts pleading for her life, and she tells the little kid, hey, I'm not from here, tell them. And the little kid is like, no, cut this bitch. Now she has an idea that these people are crazy. And even what she saw in the park earlier, these people are crazy. The Seraphites aren't killing, I think, just because they are fighting for their lives. They seem to enjoy what they are doing. We saw that in the park. So I think that thing was very important because now we know that Ellie sees that these Seraphites are no better than the wolves. And I think that's probably going to inform her decisions if she runs into them in the future. Okay. The only other thing I would say about the first part of the episode is I really liked the dynamic between Ellie and Jesse, because you kind of get the idea from the beginning of season 2 that she and Jesse kind of sort of have this bond. They kind of have this brother, sister, or bro relationship. And even though she's very sarcastic with him, she messes with him a lot. she does love and respect him, and you can see that. And so everything that they're going through right now, you can see that it angers him, but it also hurts him because in his mind, hey, I got to think about everybody. I can't just think about what you want and your revenge and how you think that's fair, even though, I mean, he saw what Joel looked like. I'm sure he feels it too, but he's thinking for everybody else because that's how he was brought to think. Like he said, the people of Jackson, they took him in, they raised him. You know, they're expecting him to lead. Ellie doesn't have any of those expectations. She never did because all she was a cure. So again, her mindset is they took this person from me. It's only right that I go after them. But I liked watching them bond and also kind of go at it because even though they're angry at each other, they're still trying to understand each other. And I like that because you see that maturity in Jesse, if not necessarily in Ellie, but we have to also remember Ellie is 19 years old. She's never had a proper childhood. She's never had the social connection. She's never had that kind of, that kind of sense of community for anybody else. So it was nice to see that develop with them.
Okay. Cyber, wrap us up, sir.
So basically, this beginning section, it wasn't too shabby. I like how it starts off with the arrow needing to be pushed through Isabel Merced's leg. That was really awesome. And I was glad that her and Jesse had kind of that moment together. Ellie comes up, and then we have that kind of blah, blah, blah crap that I don't care about. Then we, basically leads into them traveling, and I love their travel sequence. For the fact that at one point when Jesse finally tells her off, I was fucking excited as shit. I was like, yes, thank you. Finally, somebody saying something to this bitch. I'm like, yes. And I'm like, because I'm sorry, but I can't stand Ellie. I'm sorry. I don't like her as an actress either. I just think she is overrated beyond overrated. And I've seen far superior younger actresses that are way better, for their time, like Anna Paquin, the piano, and so forth. I mean, there have been far superior actresses, and I don't get the hype for this Bella Ramsey. She just does not, I think, have any good acting ability. And so, as we adventure on with them and the whole Sarah fight thing, it cracked me up, and I'm like, are you trying to get killed? Like, that was my first thought process. Like, I mean, you're being an idiot trying to save this one person out of all the people. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, you're gonna basically wreck your chance of finding Abby by trying to get involved with this one kid being attacked. And I'm like, I get the point of trying to help the needed. I get that. But at the same time, you got to think of the bigger picture. And that's what Jesse was trying to explain, but yet it went over her head. And I was kind of like, oh, okay, whatever, and I'm all for, being gung-ho about getting your revenge is for you, if you have such a situation like she has had, with the death of Joel and everything. But at the same time, you could do that by also trying to help others out at the same time. And so I don't think she's really focusing on that. And so when she goes kind of off on Jesse at that one point, trying to be all self-righteous, I started cracking up out loud going, are you effing kidding me? I'm like, this is hilarious. I'm like, and then he just walks away, and I was like, oh, perfect. I'm like, that was absolutely hilarious. And I was just like, way to go, Jesse, way to go. But I think one of my favorite moments of this section, the beginning, was when he's like, I got to stay alive. I know people have kind of mentioned that, like, I don't understand it, or however you're feeling about it is. I think it was a really great thought process because he knows that he's the father of that kid. He knows it because he was with her before he got with Ellie. So, I mean, the fact that he's, trying to want to be around for his kid. I think that's great. I think that's fantastic. And I love that they made that a point as a scene, with Jesse and Ellie. And I think that's fantastic and really shows some, fatherly figure thing there for me. But I think that, going on with this, I like that this episode doesn't have as much conversation as the previous episodes have had. And I like that it was kind of focused more on the journey versus conversations between each other. We had a little bit there, but at least it was focused more on other things happening in this, final episode. And, basically leading up to, kind of everyone's kind of mentioned the island thing. I think the island thing would have been great if it wasn't so damn dark. If you could actually have seen the island, I think it would have made a bigger extension and better thought process to the idea of showing it, trying to get you to know it and all that kind of stuff. Because it was just really dark the whole time, especially when she's escaping on the boat and trying to find Abby. And I'm just like, okay. And I felt that was a little too prolonged too, her getting to the island. Like they could have had it on a boat, bam, at the island. Could have been better. But yeah, I think that the beginning portion has some good moments to it. Not a horrible, but not the greatest. But overall, I think that it had some really good moments.
Okay. So the episode picks up after the island, where, of course, as we already talked about, the Seraphites do kind of very mind-bogglingly, just let her go, and she miraculously is able to find, a boat, and then, drive the boat, all the way to where, Abby is located, she believes, at the aquarium or whatever. So after barely surviving an encounter with the Seraphites, Ellie enters the aquarium and finds Owen and a pregnant Mel. She holds him at gunpoint and demands further information on Abby's whereabouts. When Owen grabs a gun, Ellie fatally shoots him. The bullet strikes Mel, who begs Ellie to deliver her baby, as she dies, to no avail. And I'll stop there. And I'll save the rest of the episode, for the last question. Ending right there, where right at the point where she, pulls the Mel's shirt down over the baby bump, and just kind of has that emotional moment after that, you know what I mean? Which is a pretty haunting moment. I'll go back to you, Andres. What are your thoughts on that section, sir?
Yeah, so I thought this was the highlight of this episode. I gotta say, this was well directed. This was definitely the best moment of this episode, I have to say, because this was, as typical, is directly from the game. And I thought it was well handled. Very different, of course. Instead of, it's different how Ellie took down the pregnant wife. The pregnant wife attacked Ellie in the game, where here it was more accidental. I actually like that change. That makes sense. And I did agree, as you were saying, about how Ellie, is trying to be, she's not is focusing on getting revenge, but she is trying to be a better person and trying to not danger anyone. She doesn't want any casualties at all. She doesn't care about these other people. She cares about Abby, because you were saying before, she's the one that used the broken golf club, whatever, at Joel, and so it makes sense that the focus is Abby, not these other people. I mean, the girl that got killed last episode, Nora. Yeah, Nora, was just a casualty. She, was so cocky, and she, wasn't thinking of actual, because she was loyal. She and the husband in this episode was very loyal to Abby, so that makes sense. So that was their undoing. So it's not Ellie's fault. So very cool way, the guy got the gun and then bam, shot him right in the neck. That was brutal. I was like, whoa, very very brutal. And then I was like, what about the pregnant wife? She's gonna attack her just like the game. And then when she turns and sees the bullet, and then briefly you see slowly the blood in the neck. I was like, oh damn, that's brutal. And I was like, oh my god. And then the extra kick is like she asked her to take her baby out. I was like, what? Are you kidding me? I was like, oh my god, like she's gonna do it, and poor Ellie, she hasn't experienced this, like, taking a baby out. And it was so sad, and then her last words is like, did the baby made it, or like the baby made it out, did you cut her out? It was like, oh god. So very, like, as Jeff said before, very horrific moment, very tense one. I thought this was well done, and I thought, yeah, the at least the like, the creators are doing a good job of, like, imitate these iconic scenes from the games and make it really well done in live action, and in a different way too. This is very different from the game part 2, but it's well directed and well shot, I had to say. It's definitely the highlight for me in this episode. I was like, okay, I, like you were saying before, like, this is where, like, Ellie is now thinking that her choices, and like, okay, I don't probably want to do this, and like, I'm going a little too far. The fact that she was unable to save a baby, and like, yes, we know that Jesse is the father, but like, we knew from a couple episodes ago, didn't he say, I want to have the baby with you, start the family together, and like Jesse was like, like, again, it's like, Jesse, I'm sorry, but you're not gonna be with the family. I'm sorry. So, so that's why she kind of, like, completely break down, and it's like, I cannot, be with, Deneen and the baby. It's like, I couldn't save a kid, So yeah, very, very fantastic sequence, well done. I'm so happy they at least nailed that for me, from the game. So that was really good.
Okay, Cyber.
Okay. This section, it's not horrible, but at the same time, I think it's hilarious that both of them get killed. I think that, the reveal of that she's pregnant was a kind of a crack me up too as well. And like, who was the father type of deal? That's kind of my thought process, was that I'm like, ooh, who knocked her up? And kind of the thought process, like, in that time frame, because since Joel was killed, it wasn't that long. So I mean, she was already that pregnant when the whole situation with Joel went down. So that was kind of confusing too, because I'm like, how the hell was she hiding that when we saw her at that point? And I'm like, it wasn't that long ago. So I think that was kind of an interesting kind of thought process why they did that. I don't think it really played anything and put any intrigue into the episode at all. Her being pregnant. I don't know how that plays out in the game either myself. So I don't know if that was a part of the game or not. But I just thought that it was kind of stupid. Like, what was the purpose of that? It's like Ellie now killed 3 people versus killing 2 people. Like, I don't get it. But like her crying at the end and stuff, that didn't. I was just like, whatever. It didn't faze me. It didn't make me feel emotions or anything like that. Just because I just don't care for her acting. I don't think the acting was that genuine. But overall, I think that, the talking with those 2 before Ellie pops in with the gun, I think that was kind of interesting, of, where, kind of the thought process of Abby and everything, and them kind of talking cryptically about Abby and everything. And, I think, they kind of made it clear that Abby really is the center focus of season 3. So I think that, they were trying to really set that up for season 3. And I think they did a pretty decent job there because I think Abby was, a huge part of this season. And really, when they started getting into these final few episodes, you really were focusing on her. Ellie finding her and killing her and stuff like that. So I feel that they definitely were pushing forward to really encompass that Abby will be a centerpiece in the next episode, especially because during this episode we have that conversation with the two militia people, played by Jeffrey Wright, and I forget what the other actress's name is. But their conversation that we see a little prior to this, and say how he mentions how Abby is kind of the key if both of them are to die tonight. She's the one that has to lead them on. So I think that that really they're really trying to focus on pushing that narrative that Abby's going to be a key essential for the next season. And I think that they did a pretty decent job of doing that. Other than that, I didn't think this portion was anything that great, and I feel like it didn't really add anything except for that pushing that narrative. Other than that, pretty basic and pretty simple.
Okay, I'll go back to you, Hanako. Excuse me. Is it Hanako?
Hanako.
Hanako. Jesus Christ. Thank you. Go ahead.
It's okay. Next time we'll have shots. We'll make a drinking game of it.
That's actually a wonderful idea.
So, my thoughts about that whole scene with Mel and Owen, I think Ellie's reaction to everything kind of also further illustrates her change of thinking. When it came to Nora, I think she was angry, she was focused, and I think she actually did mean to do Nora harm, because if you think back to the episode where Joel was killed, Nora was the one who was actually sitting on her back with her arm on her back, keeping her in place so that she was forced to watch what was going on. So Nora probably had a little bit of that coming to her. Mel and Owen, I think, are a little bit different because, as Owen mentions, when he's first confronted by Ellie, he did kind of sort of save her life because Abby was going to kill her too. And he was like, no, we don't have time for this. We need to go. You did what you came to do. So let's go. So in that instance, he did save her life. Mel, we saw from the very beginning of that whole episode, she was not really down for what was going on. I think, when we first saw the scene of them, after they had buried the fireflies and they told Abby, okay, if you want to go after him, we'll be with you. I don't think she really fully understood that Abby was serious with all the things that she was saying. Like, yeah, I'm going to find him. I'm going to kill him. And I need to, he needs to die slowly. I don't think Mel really took all of that seriously. And so then when it happened, I think that's when she realized, okay, this is not what I signed up for. This is not what I want to do. And then going back to what Cyber was saying, if she was indeed pregnant at that time, she probably would have only been a few weeks, maybe 2 or 3 months at the most. Most of the time, women don't show that early. So it would have been easy to miss that. But if she was already pregnant when all of that was happening, that could have changed her mindset and how she looked at that, and also changed her attitude about Abby. When we get into that scene and we kind of overhear that conversation between Mel and Owen, we already know there's something weird going on because of the conversation that Isaac had. Abby is supposed to be there. She's supposed to lead if something happens to him, if something happens to the other soldier, but she's nowhere to be found. When Mel and Owen are discussing it, they're talking about Abby, and Owen is like, yeah, I'm going to go get her. I mean, it's Abby. I don't have a choice. And Mel says, yeah, you do have a choice. She was like, what you're talking about doing is going behind enemy lines. That's suicide. And, Owen says, well, I'm going to go. It's Abby. I'm going to go. And Mel says, it's because it's Abby that I'm not. So you already know that there's a bit of a disconnect there within the group. And then when Ellie shows up, all she wants is the location. She's like, I know you guys know where she is. You were just talking about her. Just show it to me on the map. I'll let you go, because I'm not like you guys. I'm not a cold-blooded killer. And I think in that moment she really didn't want to be. But I mean, it's just like in Star Wars. Owen shot first and he got what was coming to him. He got a bullet to the neck. And Mel just happened to be collateral damage. Now, what happens after that is so heartbreaking, because once Ellie realizes she's pregnant and she realizes the scope of what Mel is asking her to do, I don't think that's something that she can comprehend. Again, Ellie grew up very sheltered. She probably has never seen a baby be born, probably haven't been around that many babies to begin with. And then even if you do, most of us think of childbirth in the regular, natural vaginal way. Nobody's thinking about teaching a 19-year-old how to do a C-section. And, I saw one account that says, oh, Ellie was just being selfish by not doing it. And I'm like, no, I don't think she was. I think when she looked at Mel and she saw the pregnancy, in her mind, she thought, okay, this could easily be Dina. What would I do in this situation? And she had already expressed, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do this. How am I supposed to cut? How deep am I supposed to cut? What direction am I supposed to cut? If she does the wrong thing, even slightly, she's going to kill that baby anyway. And I think that just scared her so much to think, oh my God, not only did I accidentally kill this person, this baby is going to die too. And for what? She's still left out of there not knowing anything about where Abby was when Tommy and Jesse came in to rescue her. They took her out of there. They didn't even take the map. They wouldn't have known the map was there. She didn't care at that point. So I just think it was a tragic situation all around, but also one that I think really put things into perspective, because we see it towards the end of the episode. She's resigned herself to saying, okay, yeah, we need to go home. So unfortunately, that's a harsh way to bring her to the conclusion that everybody else has been trying to do. Like, let's just go home. Let's just go home. But I mean, if she didn't see before, there were things in this entire episode working against her, like trying to push her, tell her, hey, you need to abandon this. Your girl got stabbed in the leg with an arrow. You almost drowned. You almost got hung. There's so many things happening that Ellie she's not reading the room. She's not saying, okay, you know what? Maybe the universe is telling me this is not what I need to do. So I hate that it came to that for her. But now, at least up until this point in the episode, I think she's gotten to the point where she's like, okay, I just need to go home.
Okay. If you could hear me okay, Danny, go ahead.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, so this scene is one that I think if you're just looking at this one scene, it's a really good scene. I love the kind of idea that Ellie's revenge quest is like led her to have collateral damage with the baby and with Mel in general, because only Owen was a threat at that moment. I just wish that like it was. I just don't really feel like there's a through line for how we get there. Because like I said, Ellie just feels a little too happy, and not supremely like only focused on getting to Abby. There's a lot of detours. She hears that Dina's pregnant, and then Dina has to convince Ellie to stay on the revenge mission. And then, now, so obviously, like, if like she was like really focused the entire time and kind of like, I mean, like she is in the game, pissed off that Dina is still there, and she's like, oh well, you kind of are a burden now because you just had to get pregnant, on my revenge quest. It's like, geez, a real damper right there, and for her to like kind of see that she's gone too far. And then I love the change, making it collateral damage, because in the game it's just kind of like she fights, or Mel fights her, and then she has to kind of self-defense stab her.
Mm-hmm.
In this one, making her collateral damage is way more poignant. And that's what I mean about like the HBO, like they're showing not telling, kind of like I thought the dialogue between Jesse and Ellie, the kind of philosophy talk that they were talking about, is just too on the nose, and they're too like, we're saying our feelings and our what we think right now, and it just felt like not HBO-ish to me. And but like this particular scene though, it got back to where I'm thinking, oh, this is good writing, and it added another layer. And then also you could, definitely what you mentioned with Hanako, with the her seeing it could be Dina. That was just, like, I like, because you seem to be like putting yourself in the shoes of the characters, and like you find like all these like little like, oh, because of this context and stuff, and like the way you talked about like kind of talking about how it does make sense, it helped me figure that out. I just wish there was at least like a one or two scenes to kind of drive that home, because it seems like there's a big disconnect for a lot of viewers that aren't really getting that context. And this scene in particular was really well done. It just kind of sucks that we kind of go like later on, we go back to the characters just saying what they're feeling, back to like like people are being stupid. And it's just unfortunate, because this is like a standout scene in like the entire season. But
Okay. So basically what we wrap up with the episode is Ellie sort of, I guess you could say, being saved, in a way. When Jesse and Tommy show up, they get her out of there. They get her back to the theater, right? With Dina. I believe, if I'm correct, Dina's there, isn't she, guys?
Yes.
She's there, but I don't
Yes.
think we actually see her. Like,
No.
in the scene.
No, they do when she's the one who lets them in. She opens the barricade so they can come into the theater, but then afterwards, we see her resting in the dressing room.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So so she's there initially, and then we sort of diverge for a little bit, and we have another sort of conversation with Jesse and and Ellie, and then there's a commotion and like shooting, and Abby's there, and then we get sort of a very interesting, I guess, cliffhanger type of deal, going into, I guess, season 3, where there's a gunshot, when Ellie, sort of puts herself out, to try to save everybody, and, I'm the one that you want to get. And then we, after the shot in the dark that we get, where we don't know what happens, we get a flashback to, Abby, I guess, at day 1, of like, the wolves in Seattle, I guess, and we're going into her flashbacks, basically, right? Her being told that, Isaac wants her or whatever, and that's how it kind of ends the episode, right? The finale. Interesting kind of, angle to, to segue over to, the Abby flashbacks on the show now, and go into her origin story, you know what I mean? Interesting way to end the season, in that direction, right? Assuming, the audience that we're going to pick up probably from there, right, in season 3. I'll go back to you, Danny. What are your thoughts on the final, portion of the episode?
Yeah, so like I was saying kind of before, all the dialogue scenes with Jesse and Ellie, while I like the subject matter of it, it's just, they're just saying, and like they're just telegraphing so hard that Jesse's gonna die like in 5 seconds. And then I liked Caitlin Dever, I don't know how to pronounce her name. I like her acting when she's like, it's like, I let you live and you wasted it. It's really intense. She's really scary in that scene. And and giving her credit, she's only 5'2". Everyone was criticizing her because in the game, Abby is like this, literally, they say, built like an ox in the game. I think she kind of handled the intimidation factor pretty well. I know what happens in the game next, and I think the largest criticism, I think the most valid and largest criticism of the game, because a lot of people were just kind of just out the second that Joel got killed. But a big criticism was just the structure of the game, and I think that's a huge missed opportunity. To because basically they're setting us up for after like the gunshot and then it cuts to black. They're setting us up for an entire season of Abby, and I really did not like watching 4 hours of Abby, her story, after I already saw everything that Ellie was doing in the same time period. Like cross cut between the storylines, huge missed opportunity. You could have just had a 10-episode season, and during the days of Seattle day 1, 2, and 3, you get to meet, like, well, see Abby's story. I don't want to spoil anything, but there's a lot of stuff that happens on her end, and it would just flow way better with the context of this Sarah fight in Wolf War. And it just kind of feels like literally we're back to square one. And I'm like, I just get such a headache just thinking like, oh man, we're going to have to watch all of this again from a different perspective. And like, a lot of people like that kind of thing, like it's the Rashomon type thing. I'm just not really a huge fan of that kind of structure of a story, different perspectives. I'd rather see it in one time from all sides. It's what I loved about like Game of Thrones. Like they were able to cut through all these different types of storylines that didn't really connect at all. And we just got like 2 or 3 scenes of each storyline, each episode, and it progressed, and we didn't feel like we were like slogging. And that's what the big criticism with The Walking Dead, right? They did those single character episodes that just really just killed the momentum of the season. So now that we kind of got through this entire season of a third of the game, I really think that you could just make one 10-episode season out of the first 2/3 of the game. And then the last third of the game I thought was a little underdeveloped, so you could really expand that in season 3. And then it would kind of with the themes, like maybe they're going for like a season 1 was Joel, season 2 is Ellie, now season 3 is Abby, and then season 4 we tie it all together. But I think the themes would work better where Ellie realizes that she's gone too far, and we're going to understand the context of the decision that Abby makes, I guess, later. It's such a cheap move, especially with the way that everybody's going to watch this show, because we're going to forget. We're not going to have, if they do what I think they're going to do in season 3, we're not going to be seeing Ellie or Dina or Tommy for 4 years. If the next season is just Abby, because they take 2 years in between seasons. So it's like, I don't think it was a smart move to go back to Seattle day 1. I know there's a lot to get through, but like I said, just, trim some stuff, push it into 10 episodes. Like we were already complaining about how short the season was already. It would make sense to expand the season and truncate certain things, like get rid of that Seraphite Island scene, because you were smart enough to get rid of it in the game. Why did you add it in the show when I don't feel like it really added much to it? But the showrunners are going to showrunner. So
okay, well, I mean, honestly, I don't see them stripping away, Ellie and that storyline from season 3 completely for the whole season myself, but they could, you never know, right? I mean, we'll have to see what happens.
That's what they did in the game. There's literally like 3 or 4
Sure.
hours of just Abby. So
I think when it comes to HBO and how they handle adapting, source material, like games, Game of Thrones, from the books and all that, they're not afraid to deviate, if they have to, you know what I mean?
I want them to.
Yeah, to do what they think is right, for the show. I think they're not afraid to do that. They already have, right, with Last of Us to some extent, But all right, I will go to if I can pronounce her name correctly, this is for the third round here. Hanako. Jesus Christ.
It's good. So I kind of agree a lot with some of what Danny says. I do, however, I think as far as season 3 being from Abby's perspective, when I first heard that that's how the game was, that it shifts from basically Joel, Ellie to Abby, I was like, I don't want to follow that because she killed Joel. Why would I want to do that? But the more I think about it, I think the more it intrigues me. There's a conversation that we always have when we're discussing The Walking Dead, and it's that, you know, we always follow Rick's group, and you know, even in the times when his group makes questionable decisions, you know, that's our group, that's who we're watching for, so that's who we're supporting. But what if the show started and we were following from Negan's point of view instead, or from the governor's origin stories, or any of these other people's origin stories, and we got to see how Rick's group affected them negatively? Would that change the way that we think about the story?
That's funny that you're doing a what if type of scenario, because I actually watched a really interesting video on YouTube today that was what if HBO produced The Walking Dead instead of AMC. It was really interesting.
So it's funny because we do Walking Dead panels at ATL Comic Convention, and 2 of the panels that we do are what if style for Maggie Rhee. What if she was the next, or what if she becomes the next TWD villain based on her interactions with Negan? And then we also talk about, you know, the Negan and Rick dynamic, and you know, if we were following Negan first, would we feel differently about the story? So I'm kind of interested to see what happens from Abby's perspective, because again, if I think about it on a logical level, I totally understand why she did what she did to Joel, because this man came in, shot her father point blank, cold blood, no emotion, and then wiped out everybody in the hospital. And she doesn't know why. So I understand that from that point of view. But because Joel is the character that I started with, that's the character that I followed, that's the character I fell in love with, I'm on his side no matter what. Okay. But with Abby, I think if we look at things from her perspective, maybe we'll get a more nuanced story and nuanced background. But also, I don't think that the story focusing on her means that we won't see Ellie, Tommy, and Jesse again, because Jesse mentions in this episode when he's telling Ellie what they had to do in order to find them. And she was like, "Oh, you make it sound so easy." He said, "No, it took a lot of work and a lot of close calls." What he said, 2 days and a lot of close calls. Those close calls had to either be with the wolves or with the Seraphites. So I have a feeling we may see maybe an episode kind of showing Jesse and Tommy coming into Seattle, trying to find Ellie. And then also in this episode, what do we hear on the radio? There's a sniper who is unidentified. He's definitely not a Seraphite, which has to be Tommy. So what did the wolves do to make Tommy get up on a building and start shooting at them? That can't be a part of the story that waits for 4 years. I have a feeling we'll see a little bit of that. Maybe there's some interaction there with Abby without them knowing that that's the interaction, or maybe there's some close calls there. But I don't think that this is the last time, one, that we'll see Jesse, or that we'll see Mel, Owen, and Nora, because they're all part of Abby's story. And what does Abby say at the end when she comes into the theater? She's talking about Tommy, but she says, "He killed all my friends," all her friends. That means Manny's gone too. And we don't know how that happened, because what we see of Manny at the end is only Seattle day 1. So somewhere between day 1 and day 3, all of her friends have been eliminated. So I think Tommy and Jesse, or at least Tommy at the very most, is still part of Abby's story. So I think we will see him in season 3 and kind of see how that culminates.
Okay. Cyber.
So the end of the episode, as I was mentioning before, it just really sets up what's going to be happening in season 3. Basically Jesse and Tommy showing up to save Ellie is like so predictable. you know, that was going to happen, you know, especially after Jesse went looking to see if that was Tommy, that was the sniper and everything. And I think that definitely we'll see more about Tommy being a sniper probably beginning of the episode, just like Hanako had mentioned. And I think that, you know, oh God, yes, I have a loose wire. I don't know why I have a loose wire. No idea.
Sounds okay
No.
now.
All I know is it's a
You're good. You sound better now,
Irritating.
sir.
irritating. Anyways, you know, so you know, the ending is basic. You know, it's setting up what's going to be happening in the next season. Wasn't anything that great, anything that extravagant. You know, it going back to Seattle day one with the Abby right at the end there. I was kind of cracking up, going, "Oh God, now we're gonna do more flashbacks with Abby. Oh, how fun! Flashbacks again." You know, unfortunately, probably season 3 is going to be a lot of filler too, especially going back. And, you know, it'll be interesting to see where it goes and if it, you know, is, you know, better, hopefully, than the first 2 seasons. You know, maybe they'll focus more on Abby versus Ellie. You know, who knows? But anyway, I think that the, you know, ending of this was, you know, not anything great, but it wasn't anything horrible either. It would have been nice to have seen some infected or even some more to do with the infected leading up to this end of this episode. But other than that, pretty mediocre.
All right, Andres, wrap it up.
Sure. All right. Yeah, I mean, this finale was good. I mean, not bad. I'm like, to minds with this finale. It's like, I mean, it's definitely better than the first season's finale, where that one, it felt like it wasn't like a finale. So at least this felt like a finale. You know, it's like, okay, we're leaving you on this part for next season. Where like the other one, I was like, oh, it just ended, and like you know, of course, you know, like I took some research, like, okay, we're gonna probably do a time jump and all that, you know, for season 2, right? Here, I appreciate like this ending felt like a finale. It's like, okay, we got this cliffhanger now, like for you know the normies, you know, who haven't seen the show or you know haven't played a game. They're like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? You know, is Abby gonna get killed or Tommy, whatever? You know, I was like, okay, you know, it was a poor Jesse. I mean, come on, that poor boy. Like he thought he was gonna be the father. He's like, I need to be safe. All right. I need to get out of here, you know, so I can take care of my son, right? And then 1, 2, 2, Abby just shot him right in the face. I'm like, wow, headshot, like John Wick style. Like she's Baba Yaga for this universe. I'm like, oh my god, I'm not gonna mess up Abby. And I was like, oh my god. And then I like seeing that face, like the death face of Jesse. I was like, oh my god, that is just like. Poor Jesse. Rest in peace, sir. I really like his character this season. I thought he was better than the game. I don't know if you guys had that opinion. I thought he was better in the show. I thought the actor that played him was really great. And I do agree about what you were saying about the relationship between him and Ellie. I thought this relationship was so much better in the game, much better in this show than the game, because this one was a little more fleshed out. I understood their camaraderie. It wasn't like in the chat someone brought up a CW show. At least it wasn't that, because that was the problem with the game. It felt so CW in the video game. Here, I appreciate it was more mature, and like you know, Jesse had good points, and I agree. Like he had really good points about like no, like we had to think about our people, you know, and like it's not our business to be part of this war. That's not our problem, you know, like. You know, like a couple of episodes ago, one guy say like, you know, like we should take because if you intervene, they will come after you, right? Like that's the whole thing, right? It's just, you have to be careful what you do, these choices. So anyway, I really like the actress that plays Abby, who I you know look, you know, you cannot always have like this like 2T like looking like the game character. But I think she's just incredible. She has a present, at least like that's the thing. She has a present, and she just like when she shot Jesse, I'm like, oh shit, she's here, and like she's no business. I agree when she say like, I I spared your life and you wasted it. It's such a good line. I'm like, yes, this is what The Last of Us should be, you know? Yeah, and then we get this. Yeah, I agree with Cyber. It was so funny. It's like, all right, we're back to Seattle day one. I was like, are we doing Quiet Place now? Like Quiet Place day one? Like we're going back to timeline. I was like, oh my god. And I do agree with Danny. Like Game of Thrones, and even The Walking Dead had this before. Like just interline the Abby storyline while we're following Ellie's storyline this season. I don't know why they didn't do that. That's the weirdest thing that they didn't do. Like they could have saved more time if they intertwine the A plot and make the Abby the B plot. Like yes, the B plot was not important, but it's going to be important later on. So I don't understand what they were trying. I get they're trying to be faithful to the game, but at the same time, we discuss. Look, you cannot be faithful to the game. Sometimes you have to change it, and this show has done that. I mean, like the Nick Offerman character is very different what his character is from the game, and same thing. I was discussed this episode from the game is also different sometimes. So you don't have to be so faithful. It's like just tell a good story. People will like it. I mean, that's why I like the Sonic games. Like the Sonic games are faithful to the lore of Sonic, but they adding this new material that I like that's not in the games. It makes it unique for itself. Like I need that. I don't need this to be faithful. Like make new things that's cool about this universe you're playing around. So yeah, it was a very lackluster finale, but it was better than season one, I have to say, at least. But I'm still frustrated. And I will hate to wait another 2 years. I hope it comes very quickly. Like, come on, give me 2027, please. I don't want to wait another 3 years or whatever for the season to come out. That's just getting ridiculous now with these shows. But
it's still early 2020. It's still like mid 2025. They can give it to us at the end of 2026. I wouldn't be mad.
I know. Yeah, that's true. But I don't know. It's HBO. That's the thing. Like, you know how long it took for the House of Dragon to come out? Like,
oh god,
yeah. I'm sorry, but it's that thing. Like, it's such a trend now. It's like all these shows are coming back so much. I mean, unfortunately, it was the strike. Unfortunately, the strike happened 2 years ago. That caused a lot of these delays, So I mean, but
like Stranger Things has been gone for 3.5 years.
Okay, that's true. Okay, that's true.
I know. One of my co-hosts talks about it every time it comes up. She's like, "Okay, they're gonna be in college. They're gonna be grandparents when we see them."
Yeah, like at this rate, they got to be like 21. I mean, they literally are 21.
I mean, Priya Ferguson, who plays Erica, she just graduated high school.
Yes, I saw that in Instagram. I'm like, wow, shut up. Anyway, that's my thoughts on the finale. I thought it was better than season one, and I'm very sad it's over because now I have to deal with Dead City and Andor. Andor's good, actually. I'm very happy to.
Oh yeah, Andor, I got some stuff to say about Andor. I think we're next month or something.
Oh really? Yeah, that's good. I definitely gonna check it out. But yeah. So overall, okay finale, much better than season one.
Okay, so let's do our 1 through 10 ratings, and then we'll do some plugs for everybody's shows and whatnot, and then we'll get out of here. So I'll go back to you, Danny. If you want to give me your rating, sir, please.
Sure. So this episode, I liked it. Didn't love it. Like it. I think it had like one of the best scenes in the season, but also everything surrounding it just kind of felt. It needed a couple punch ups in the writer's room, and again that cliffhanger really annoyed me. So I'll give it like the episode. I'm gonna give it like a 6 out of 10. The season I'd give it like a 7 out of 10. I had like I think my favorite episode in the season, just an episode or the show actually in episode 6. Yeah.
Okay. Cyber.
I give it a 5.
Okay. A 5's not that bad, sir. Yeah. It's like that's like a 5 is like a C minus. or something like that. So Andre's a pop culture guy.
Okay, I'm being too generous because I'm very new to this show. I love this show. I mean, I'm a huge pop culture show guy, so I'll give this episode a 6.5 out of 10. I thought it was a decent finale episode. Just didn't satisfy me at all. And I agree with Danny. I was frustrated with the cliffhanger, and like now, and then like just telling me that, oh my god, we have to do a flashback of Abby. Like I don't know how many episodes. That's the thing. And like anyway, and for this series, I would give it a 7.5 out of 10. It was very like unstructured. Like it was very unstructured. The pacing was really off in certain episodes, but at the same time, we had two fantastic episodes. I will remember from this season. I was like episode 2, episode 6, great episodes from this show. Banner, Last of Us episodes, and one of the best HBO shows, I have to say. But the rest were very filler, and I had to agree with all of you about just the messy of the season. It's not as good as the first season.
Okay. Hidako, I know I did not. I think I would. I think I'm forever cursed to butcher your name no matter what.
It's okay. I think, given the fact that I am not quote unquote tainted by the game, I have less expectations. So I wasn't as annoyed with some of the things as you guys were. I think I'm going to give the episode and the season probably about a solid 8 for both. I like the way that they developed the relationships and kind of, being able to see a little bit more detail on some of the things that we were kind of clueless about, but there were minor things that kind of irritated me. The fact that Jesse and Ellie were walking in the middle of the street in broad daylight while people are out searching, not just for them, but for other people, didn't make sense to me. Ellie's frequent use of flashlights in areas that she doesn't know where she's going, who she's going to encounter, and what kind of dangers. Just those types of things throughout the season were kind of annoying because it's kind of like you're drawing attention to yourself in a situation where you're supposed to be trying to hide.
That's a good point. The overuse of the flashlight stuff is ridiculous.
Yeah. And I think the only other thing that I forgot to mention earlier about this episode that really bothered me, I was really bothered by Dina's response once she found out what Joel did, because it's almost like she had a 160 attitude and, was like, we need to go home, when just the day before you were telling us the story about what happened to your mother and your sister. And you said, if my family member did something to another person, would that make me view this very differently? No, I don't care what they would have done. I would have hunted that man to the end of the earth, or, in terms of Joe, whatever it was he did to those people, he didn't deserve that. And so for her to say that and then kind of change her mind once Ellie says, oh, okay, by the way, this is actually what happened, I kind of it didn't seem consistent with her character for me. So that also brought the score down. But yeah, I give it a solid 8.
Okay. And I'm definitely in the area, probably like a 6.5 on the episode, and probably like a 6.5 overall, to be nice, I guess. Leading in between 6.5 and 6 kind of with the season. I just really feel like I can remember, doing the recaps of season 1 with Cyber, before I met Andres, and we met Andres and everything. I remember dropping like a lot of 9s and 10s on the episodes of season 1, like a lot of 10s I had during that season. You know what I'm saying? Like, and my overall feelings about the season at the end of the season were like very positive. You know what I'm saying? I was like, this is like a really good show, all the gate people that, that came on that had seen, played the games or whatever, all liked the show too. There seemed to be no real hardcore complaints from that, that part of the fandom. Right. So either way, all right, well, that's it, guys. We're done. Thank you very much to everybody that came on the guest panel tonight. Cyber, Appreciate you, brother. Thanks for sticking out the Last of Us season 2. Danny, it was great to have you again. Eventually, I promise, Hanako, right?
Hanako.
Hanako, I promise. Eventually, I will get through it and be able to pronounce her name. But this is probably one of those things that takes some time. It's again, very unique name for me. But thank you so much for making your first appearance with us. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
I hope you win that number one female podcaster of the year award. I think you deserve it. I'm a fan of your podcast.
Thank you.
Andres, appreciate you being here. Here, why don't we go ahead and I'll pull up one of y'all's YouTube channels, since we're going to go all YouTube on our plugs, and we'll start with you, Danny. And you tell us what's going on at Seen It Before.
Yeah, so right now, actually, we don't have much planned. We're more promoting our Duel of the Debates podcast. It's kind of like a movie fights type thing where we pick a question like we just did. What's the worst Tom Cruise movie? In celebration of Mission Impossible, and so we all argue, who's right in that sense. But for Seen It Before, that's our regular movie review podcast. You can see me and my co-host Dan in that thumbnail right there. We just talk about just the average review movies. So we just recently finished our recap of all the Mission Impossible movies. You can see the one on the top left. So you can find us at Seen It Before Cast on Instagram and TikTok. And you can find me at Instagram at Danny_Was, my letterboxd and serialized at DJ Was, WOS, or my YouTube channel, which is just Danny Was, which is my name. So, yeah, lots of tags.
Excellent. Thank you, Danny. And that's awesome. I'll tell you, I'd love to get you to come back when we start doing movie reviews again here in a couple of weeks. When we finish up Andor, I'd love to get your thoughts on an actual movie review. Sure. And I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on Andor too. And I've got some episodes at the end of Andor where I still have open spots. So I'll reach out to you on Instagram and I'll throw the dates at you and see if you want to join us for one of those Andor episode recaps.
I'm so down. I love that show. So
that's what I figured. Yeah. Episodes 10 through 12, I have all open spots. So okay, cool. I'll reach out to you. It'll be like the last Friday of June and then 2 more in July.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, sure.
And that extends over to the Fandom Hybrid podcast as well in terms of Andor and those episodes.
Okay. We have a couple of people on our show that actually watch it. So I haven't gotten around to it yet, but I will. But so Phantom Hybrid Podcast, we basically do what we just did tonight. We talk about TV shows and film. We are also active on the Atlanta fan convention scene. So we are actually preparing for panels at ATL Comic Convention, which is the middle of July. We are also panelists at Dragon Con here in Atlanta. It's one of the biggest pop culture conventions in the country. So you can find us there. As far as our content, we will be going on hiatus for about 3 weeks for vacations and stuff. But when we come back, we will be finishing out our coverage of season 3 of The Wheel of Time.
Yeah, how's the Wheel of Time going?
It got canceled.
Oh, did it got canceled? Oh man.
Yeah, financial reasons, but so we'll talk about that. We will be covering The Walking Dead Dead City. We will be covering the Ironheart show, and then we also handle the Outlander products. And Outlander has a prequel that is coming out in the beginning of August called Blood of My Blood, so we'll be covering that as well.
Really? They're doing a prequel for Outlander, huh?
Yep. Going to be focusing on the stories of Jamie's and Claire's parents.
And it
should be interesting.
And you got your Black Widow review up too, which is awesome. I'd love to hear what your thoughts were on Black Widow.
That was from a few years ago. We did Thunderbolts, and of course, we had to kind of tie it into Black Widow. So yeah. Yeah,
that's understandable. I dig that connection. That's a lot of fun.
And you can find me everywhere at Phantom Hybrid. Black
Widow is actually a really decent movie.
I loved it. I just think that they should have given it to her when they were supposed to give it to her, and not after we had already mourned that character's death. But that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah, you're right. No, I mean I've had that conversation before many times, and I agree.
Yeah,
You know,
same
it's very unfortunate. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, because that wasn't it was a quality film that she made. You know, it was the first movie that came out after the pandemic. You know what I'm saying?
And
Like,
we got great characters out of that film too.
Yeah.
So
I saw it in an empty theater. There was nobody there. It was me and my sister by ourselves in an empty theater. You know?
I went to go see it in 4DX. It was fun.
Yeah. No, I mean, I thought that was actually a well-directed, you know, like quality MCU film, to be honest with you, that just, you know, came out in a really bad time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Out of this pop culture guy, sir, you're next.
Yeah. Well, I just want to thank the guests here for coming. It was great to see you, Danny. Danny again. How do you say your name?
Good luck. Good luck.
Hanako.
Hanako.
Hanako. Just think ha 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 Hanako.
Hanako. Okay. I think maybe I got it right or no. But anyway, I thank you everyone for joining us today. I'm so sad that this is gonna be the last time I'm gonna discuss Last of Us. But no way, I'll probably make shorts review on season 1 and 2. But anyway, I just came back doing content because I was taking a little break from content work. So I posted my top 10 Powerpuff Girls most underrated moments. My favorite moments from the show that no one's probably talked about. Check it out. Plus, check out the James Bond tribute for Pierce Brosnan. His birthday was like last week, so I did that. I'm working on his top 10 moments. Pierce Brosnan, his like area of 007. So watch out for that. I recently posted my review on Warfare, the A24 movie. Please check that out. And that's where I'm at right now. There is going to be a new live stream in the coming 2 weeks. It's going to be Unforgiven. I haven't yet set up that whole thing yet. But if you want to check out the other live streams I have here, like Thunderbolts, me, Jeff reviewed the movie. It was really fun to discuss it with him because I thought it was one of the best. It was finally a good MCU film we had in a while. It was fun. It was one of the best character driven we had lately, which was good. So please check that out. And there's other ones like, Age of Ultron. We did it for his 10th anniversary. Check that out. And there's the top MCU base tier list that we did together like a month ago. So check out that. That's where I'm at right now in terms of my content. So yeah, it's crazy. May is going to be almost done and Saturday, which is crazy. So
there you go. And you wanted to do Unforgiven next Sunday, right?
Not next Sunday. The other following Sunday, because I'm gonna be my mom and some other fella are gonna go to the Mets game June 1st.
Oh, you're going to see the Mets?
Yes, that's what. Yeah, because we're gonna have a guest here, and we're gonna go Sunday and Tuesday, 2 separate games. It's crazy.
Oh, that's awesome. The Mets. I think the Mets are going to be good this year too. They signed a really good player. I forget the player's name. I apologize, but they gave him the biggest contract in Major League history in free agency. So he's a real slugger.
That's good. My family are big Mets fans, so I'm happy to hear that. So
that's awesome. So I'm a Mets fan too. I love the Mets.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, so we're that's why I was a little quiet about the schedule. I had to check.
That's okay.
Free. So June 1st, gonna see the Mets, and then Tuesday the Yankees. So
all right, good for you, sir. All right, Cyber.
All right, folks, if you enjoy me here on the panel or as a moderator of the MCU's Being Edge, you can check out my solo content. You'll find me under Cybernetic Shark. You'll find me on YouTube, TikTok, X, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, Patreon, Cameo. You'll find me all those different places. My most recent review there is the Amateur with Rami Malek and Lawrence Fishburne. Just put that up yesterday. If you haven't seen that film, check out that review of it. Also, I put up my Warfare review as well, just like Mr. Andreas. And yes, it is the end of May on Saturday. Folks, we start June Sunday. So just to help Andres out there, May will be over. And then, of course, if you haven't seen my first tribute review to Gene Hackman with the Poseidon Adventure, you definitely check that out too as well. My most recent shorts, of course, are the Lilo and Stitch live action remake and then Final Destination Bloodlines. Both fantastic films. If you have not seen them, I recommend checking them out. Thunderbolts also was fantastic. I have my short of that too as well. So I'll be having more stuff up for you guys soon, more trailers, more movie reviews. I have a whole bunch that I still have to edit for films from May and from April. I think one more I think from April still, and then the rest will be the beginning and middle of May. So many movies this month, so a lot to film, a lot to edit. So keep your eyes up for that stuff. We'll be getting more stuff up for you guys. I want to thank everyone for being here. I want to thank you all for watching us here in the MC's Bledge. Don't forget to keep subscribing and watching us here and on our individual content. You guys are rocking.
All right. Follow and rate us because we are a podcast at the MCU'S Bledge YouTube channel and podcast. So once again, thanks to everybody that came on. It was on the panel tonight. Thanks for working with me, and my moderation tonight. I don't know that I had my A game or anything like that, but I do my best. Shout out to everybody out there, that supports the Bleeding Edge, support the creators that are on tonight on the show and their content. And again, thanks everybody that came on. I guess we're pretty much done with The Last of Us season 2. I don't see there being a lot of after conversation, popping up or crossover on other shows. I think this is going to end up being pretty much a death knell for us. I guess we'll see when season 3 does come out. Hopefully it won't be 2 full years, which I guess you never know these days. Again, look at House of Dragon, right? There you go. But so we're out of here, and we'll see you again here on the MC's Bleeding Edge on Friday for Andor episode 6, and that should be a blast. I'm really looking forward to that. We'll have a bunch of other different creators on that show, and then Monday we'll have Dead City, which I know Andres is really looking forward to that. Right? There you go. Dead City is just wonderful. It's a blast to cover.
Fuck you, Dead City.
That's right.
Fuck
Fuck Dead City. That's right, Andres. All right, folks. We're out of here.
Ciao.
Fuck Dead City. Peace.
Yes, peace.